Welcome to 𝗂𝗏𝘁 Spotlight. I'm your host, Brittany Borer. Within the rising popularity of the plant-based diet, there's been a rising trend of using plant-based proteins exclusively to build muscle mass. But does it really work? That's the case that Dotsie Bausch puts forward. She is an Olympic silver medalist in cycling who has been a practicing vegan for several years. She is here to share her insights on plant-based diets. So Dotsie Bausch, founder of Switch for Good, thank you for coming on the show today.
Oh, really cool of y'all to have me. Thanks.
So could you start by telling us your story about choosing to go vegan?
Well, sure. Yes, it was, first of all, I as we were chatting about before the show, I grew up in the South of the States, and I grew up in Kentucky, and I grew up eating animals for 35 years of my life. So it wasn't something that I have done, since birth or anything. I totally and completely understand people's process and sometimes hesitation to switch over. But I decided to lean into plants and then solely go plant-based about 2 years before Olympic Games, and I competed in the 2012 London Olympic Games. So this is back in about 2010. We didn't know too much back then, right? We all kind of grew up with the myth that we needed to consume dead, decaying flesh to be vibrant and strong and healthy, which doesn't even really make sense when you say that out loud, but that's the truth. So I started shifting my diet to a whole food plant-based diet. Rich, of course, in protein, because I was an athlete training for the Olympics and I was trying to get stronger and grow muscle, but also a diet that's filled with vitamins and minerals and micronutrients, as we know them, that are really the nutrients that give us our energy and our stamina and our brightness and our lightness too, if you will.
So what was it like maintaining a vegan diet while training as an Olympic athlete? What challenges did you face and how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so I didn't have any challenges. I mean, plants, a large variety of plants have complete protein. Quinoa, soy, hemp, buckwheat, spirulina. I was eating tempeh and all sorts of beans, lentils and edamame and hemp seeds and tofu and black beans, peanut butter. I mean, the list is endless, really, of the high protein plant foods. So I just educated myself. I will say, prior to switching, I was already eating a lot of plants. It's not like I was on a fast food diet, as an athlete and then switched over. So I was already eating a lot of plants. I was just also eating meat. So I just kind of had to figure out to up my calories. Typically, plant-based foods are a little bit less calories than a meat-based food, which just means you get to eat more, which no one on a diet has ever been sad about that. Not that this is a diet, but when people say, oh, it's so limited, you're like, yep, no, it's actually much more volume of food. And I feel much more satiated on it. So I didn't have any challenges. I mean, I was already pretty aware of nutrition, what my body needed, what I did well on. And so then I just switched over to eating only those foods that I was already loving and having energy on and growing muscle on, and just took out the saturated fat, trans fat laden, decaying animal flesh. I feel like I just had so much more vibrancy once I was eating life instead of death.
Thank you for sharing your perspective on that. So that kind of leads into my next question. So from your experience, do you think that people should avoid animal proteins altogether? Or what are your thoughts also on, people on the opposite end of the spectrum who argue with evidence, that animal protein could potentially build muscle faster?
We certainly have a ton of information at switchforgood.org. And we wrote, four doctors and one registered dietitian wrote a book with us called Let the Plant-Based Games Begin. And it is about optimum nutrition on plants for athletes. And we actually wrote it alongside the International Olympic Committee. I called them, this is about 3 years ago, and I called the IOC to see if they had any kind of guide for athletes that want to sustain on plants, because I was getting a lot of questions post the Game Changers film coming out that I was a part of. I was getting a lot of questions from athletes from all over the world, how to do it, what to do, just wanting the 411. And so I thought, gosh, we really need like a complete guide that has all of the studies or most of the studies that we have. And so to the IOC's credit, they said, no, we don't have anything like that, but we need it because we're starting to get a lot of questions too. So we went on about a 1.5 year journey and wrote the book. And that is has over 250 references. So if you're looking for the science, it's there, a plethora of all of the data. And then, for me, I just lived it, right? I mean, I'm here. I've been plant-based for 14 years now. And because I did it in 2010, I feel amazing. I feel more energetic than most 51-year-olds my age that I know of that are starting to deal with, high cholesterol and heart disease and some diabetes and being overweight and lethargic. And I feel amazing. So when you've lived something, that's the proof in the pudding for me.
And my final question for you, I hear you're about to head to the 2024 Olympic Games in Paris.
Yeah.
So what are you looking forward to most as a spectator this time around instead of a participant in the Olympic Games?
I'm looking forward to just relaxing at the Olympic Games. My husband and I are going and just really leaning into the experience of the whole journey of going to different events. Of course, we got tickets to my event, qualifying and finals, so I'm pretty excited to geek out and scream loud and cheer for Team USA. But I'm also looking very forward to the French vegan cheese because Paris 2024 Olympic Games have announced they are 60% plant-based, and they've done that for the planet. They've done it entirely for sustainability reasons. So I know there's going to be like a ton of great plant-based vegan food, and I'm very curious to see how their vegan cheeses are. Probably mostly made from cashews, if I had to guess. But you know how the French love their cheese, so I'm pretty excited to dive into that.
Dotsie, thank you so much for joining us
today.
Yeah. Safe travels to Paris.
Thank you so much. Looking forward to it. Just about a week away.
For more about Dotsie's Olympic journey and supporting that with a high-protein plant-based lifestyle, check out This Food Institute Focus by Grace Garwood on our website. And as always, you can check out more of our great content by clicking on this playlist. Until next time, I'm Brittany Borer with the Food Institute.